Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. I just want to remind you that this is not an AA meeting. It's simply one member's take on the exact nature of the wrong, as described in our wonderful big book on page 64. And it's the solution that we find in the 12 steps. Paul, we bounce around and see how our basic premise here applies in leading up to the identification of the causes and conditions and how it follows. But I thought today we might just hit the nail right on the head. And let's go to the bottom of page 63 in the big book to kick it off. Last paragraph. Next, we launched out. Here, let me get this over here. Next, we launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and fact-facing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup which caused our failure. Being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, was what had defeated us, we considered its common manifestations. So there you go, Paul.
Well, thanks, Mickey, and welcome, everyone. Happy to be here. It's funny where it says, therefore, we start upon a personal inventory, and then they describe a business or a commercial inventory. Yeah, because the reason why we don't want to do an inventory is we think it's too personal. So we're trying to look at it as more like a commercial, a business, which will hope bring about more of a fearlessness when you look at stuff, because the process is really to face and to be rid of things. Yes, as it says there, though our decision was a vital, and that was the third step, decision. Yeah. And why is it only a decision, the third step? If it was your life and it was under your control, you could have just done a third step without making a decision. You would have just turned your will and life over to the care of a higher power, yes? If it's under your control, then you can hand it over. to someone. But the fact is, it's not under our control at that point. We've been taken over by something. And I humbly believe that something is foreign to us. And with that ability to see it as foreign to us, it brings about a possibility of being free from it, literally. So we make a decision in the third step because our life doesn't seem to be in our hands. It's in something else's hands, called the addiction or the disease, or whatever, however you want to name it. But basically, your life isn't your property to turn over to something else. Yeah. So we make a decision to do that. And then what initiates the ability to actually turn one's will and life over is the working steps 4 through 9. It's very clear. Yeah. So the decision is made in the third step. The reflections are the first 2 steps. And then there's a decision made. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be a lot better if something else than the old boss was running my life. So let's make a decision to turn my life over to the new boss, being all powerful and everything else. So that's the spirit, I feel. And then what induces or allows that to happen, that turnover, or let's say peaceful transition, it could be a little rocky, but ultimately it's quite peaceful. A peaceful transition of power is the working steps, which is 4 through 9. And the first one is to face up to and take stock of our lives. Yeah. And maybe when we look at our role in things, which, if I don't know about you, but one of the big waves of recovery was when I saw my role in things. That was a very big change, a big pivotal point. Yeah. When I first was introduced to the fourth step, it was like the blind leading the blind. There was another guy, he didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know what was going on. We didn't even go into the sex part. It was just, and I got the roteness of it, but I didn't see my role in things. So it's when I went to hear Joe and Charlie, these old guys, if you ever look them up, they're all around the internet, I think. They've passed away, but their seminars haven't. You can see them probably. Well, that was a pivotal point, because when they explained the fourth step, I got it and I saw my role in things. So from going from the first part, column, which is I resent Wendy, to the fourth column, what was my role in it? I find that finally that bridge was built. So I started to see it, and that was incredibly quite liberating. Because once you start seeing your role in things, you're actually going to see something else's role in things. Yeah. But you're never going to see that something else's role in things until you see your role in things. Yeah. Now, your role in things is comprehensive, but after a bit of time, you're going to see there was a much larger role in your things, which is self's role. Yeah. And then when you see self as like a foreign installment, or it's not of your own nature, the possibility of being free is finally unleashed. Yeah. And you don't get caught in that web of self trying to get out of self, which many of us have been in. Yes. Yeah. So that's explained there, that though our decision was a vital and crucial step, and that's all it was a decision, because we couldn't act out on the decision because we were in the dilemma of powerlessness. We assumed a life that was ours that at that point wasn't really ours. And if you have any question about that, look how similar your behaviors and the thoughts you have and how you feel are to with other addicts and alcoholics. It's so obvious that there's been one driver of the fleet of Fords we call ourselves a part of, that there's been one driver that drove us to these situations and conditions, drove us. We did not drive ourselves. This is not a self-driving car. Yes, it's it actually is in a way, but it's not the car. So that's my sense. I'm just sharing how I've seen it over the years. Yeah. And some of the stuff I see now, I first saw years ago, and it's never changed. Other things I've seen have changed over time. Certain things have not changed, and that's the exact nature of the wrong. It's foreign to us. That has never changed in all the years that I've entertained this idea. So it goes, what about it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Yes, I think what's blocking us is in us. Yeah, I do not believe that I hate myself or I hated myself. I do not believe that. I believe something in us may hate us, but we keep calling it us. Yeah, I don't see it as us. So it's basically saying this vital and crucial step could have little effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. What has been blocking us is not us. Yes. If someone's blocking your view in a movie theater, it's not you. Yes. If someone's head is blocking your view of the screen, it's not your head. Your head is part of where you're seeing that which is blocking it. It's not the blocking of it. Yeah. So, but we're identified as that big head that's blocking the screen. Yeah. And then we plead, please, big head, sit down and this out. And it wasn't listened to us because we're in a dilemma of powerlessness. We can't make that fucking head sit down. Yeah, obviously. So it's blocking us to seeing a movie or maybe seeing our seat assignment or our purpose in life. And we're getting an interpretation. If you're not seeing the movie, how are you going to know what's going on? You may have to rely on an interpretation of the movie because you're not freaking seeing it. And this is where the mental state steps in. It plays God with the movie we're in, and it interprets it. And we don't know any better because we're not seeing the movie, because something's blocking us from seeing the movie. Yes? So we've got to listen to that which is actually blocking us to have it tell us what the movie is like. And it does. It plays God. Yeah. They're out to get you. It's all this shit. Making mountains out of molehills, paranoia out of fucking nothing. Yes, it's insane. But we don't know any better because the only one, if we turn right in the theater and we turn left, the same thing tells us what the movie is. Yeah, self can't get out of self. So we have to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. The things in ourselves doesn't mean it's ourself. Yeah. There can be things in the soup, but it's not of the soup. Like a fly can land in the soup. It is not of the soup. Yeah. So there are things that are in us that are not of us. And these things are blocking us. Yeah. And so this is the methodology we have found. You go through the steps, and after the third step, you launch into vigorous effort in steps 4 through 9. And that gives us the oomph to really live the spirit of the third step, which is first, quit playing God. And second, this power is going to be our director, or it's going to be what's driven us instead of self. Yes? This is the deal. And this is what triggers the deal to start working is the action steps, 4 through 9. What gives life to the third step is not the third step. It's what you do through 4 through 9. Yeah? That's what unleashes the oomph of the third step. The decision doesn't. It says here, right? It says it right there. Our decision was vital and crucial. It could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves. Now, the strenuous part of the effort is because we think we're seeing us, and we don't want to see us. We don't want to see us as selfish and fucking insincere and parasitical and fucking everyone to get what we want. Who wants to check that out? Yeah. if you're trying to polish your image, that would be like using sandpaper. It doesn't work. Yeah. So there's a giant resistance to it to see face these things in ourselves because we think these things in ourselves are ours. And it's very clearly put in the next paragraph, or two ones, two down, that the manifestations of self aren't ours. They're the manifestations of self. And where are they manifesting? In us. And what do they appear as? Things. What's one of the things? Resentment. What's the other thing? Fear. What's the other thing? Being selfish and self-centered. You should get a clue. Self is in both of those descriptions. Yeah. So the things that are blocking us in ourselves are not of ourselves. Could you imagine? Don't you see the futility of trying to change you when it's not you that needs to be changed? Don't you see it? You don't change it. You tell the truth about it. Yeah. It doesn't say you're going to change it. It says you're going to face up to it. To face and to be rid of. If you can be rid of something, it can't be of you, can it? Be rid of, if you said to be rid of, someone could take it as, oh, this person's asking me to shoot him. Yeah. To get rid of something is Paul. So, all right, I'll just shoot Paul. No, get rid of things that are not of us. Yes, they're foreign. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face. And the reason why it's strenuous is because there's a resistance in us. The parasite does not want you to see the parasite. It doesn't. And if you go to the fourth column in the fourth step, you're going to see your role in things, and you're going to see the parasite's role in things, because you've been taking the parasite role in things as your role in things. Yeah. And I hope that day is going to break where that light comes in, and you're going to see you are not what has defeated you. Some foreign thing has defeated you. Yeah. And just freaking tell the truth about it. If not, you're going to have to rehab it. And you know what? A snake is a snake is a snake. No matter how much you treat it as a dog, it's not going to lose its snake nature. Yeah. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. So if it isn't liquor and drugs, what are the causes and conditions? What causes me to drink when I have an incredible amount of knowledge that I shouldn't drink? What causes me to do that? Or at least, where does that cause come from? In the head, yes? My elbow has never told me to go out and have a drink. My ass has never told me to get up from this seat and go to a bar. Never. The head is what leads us, yes? The head is what leads us to have the drink. The problem resides in the mind. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. And then they immediately go into a business and commercial inventory. Because the reason why we don't want to do the inventory is we take it too personally. Yes? Because we think we did all the shit. I mean, I would move from another state not to deal with someone I fucked over. I would. Someone that I grew up with, because I did something stupid, I never see them again. These were my solutions. because I thought I did it. Yes? Yeah. But when the first amends that I ever made was caught up with me. It was an unexpected amend. I was riding motorcycles. I had this girl that I wanted to impress. My friend had a woman he'd been going out with. We drove back to his apartment. We went up the stairs. Walking down the stairs was a lady, and she had paint on her jeans and stuff. And she just said hello, and we walked up. And then my friend had to go back downstairs, get something from the bike. He came back into his apartment, said, "Hey, my neighbor wants to talk to you." So I thought he told her I was a house painter and I was going to give us some suggestions. So there I'm sitting there. She walks in and says, "Hello, Paul, do you remember me?" I go, "No." She says, "You owe me $500. What? So I get caught with my pants down. I'm trying to impress this lady and this and that. But I'll tell you, I did not feel any guilt or shame because I had gotten the idea that this was a disease. And I told her right away, I said, what I did to you, I would have done to anyone unless you could physically stop me. Yeah. I was on the right track. I had gotten the scent that what had defeated me was not me. And this was one of the first demonstrations, because when she pulled my pants down, I didn't feel guilty or shameful. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't have a reaction where I wanted to recoil and fucking take off. I just admitted what I did, and I ended up sending her checks and paid her off. And she ended up calling me for advice after a while. So this was the beginning of this idea. Yeah. The idea of accepting what I had was a disease brought a lot of relief and gave me some room to actually stay sober. Yeah. But it didn't stop there. It went farther and farther. More was revealed. Like it says, this power is going to constantly reveal more to us. Well, more was revealed by doing the inventory and looking at my role in things, and then seeing self's role in things. Yeah. So I use self as the exact nature of the wrong, and its nature is foreign. Yeah. Hallelujah. This is why we can be rid of things in ourselves, because they're not ourselves. Yeah. We can be rid of it. What? Yes. So therefore, taking a commercial fact-facing fact, it is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsellable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If you believe something is yours, yeah, and then you have to tell it to leave, there'd probably be a lot of regret. Yeah. But when you finally see the shit that was constantly staying was not you, you have no regret in its departure. Yeah. When these things of anxiety and all this shit leave you, you have no regret that they're leaving. Yeah. To get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. So they're saying we're going to do a personal inventory, but it's going to be a business inventory or a commercial inventory. That's what they said. We started upon a personal inventory, and then it turns into a business inventory. Yeah. Don't you see part of the disease is super personalness? We're extremely obsessed with the person. So being convinced. Now you tell me that self and us means the same thing in this sentence. Being convinced. If you've been in AA, you know the meaning of being convinced and the importance of it. Being convinced that self, you and I have not been mentioned yet, that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated, and then we're mentioned, us. Yeah? We're mentioned as the defeated, and self is mentioned as the defeater. Yeah? Self, manifested in various ways, is what has and will defeat us. Yeah? We considered its common manifestations. Resentment. So when you talk about resentment, do you call them yours? Probably. Yeah. When you talk about fear, do you call it your fear? Probably. When you talk about I stepped on other people's toes, obviously you did that. Yet they're saying these are manifestations of self in one's life. Yeah. So that which is blocking us, which is foreign to us, we're giving it the name of self, is blocking us. Yeah. And this is what we're going to get rid of through this process through 4 through 9. We're going to get rid of the foreign installment that's blocking us to our own nature, which they describe as spirit. Yes? Pretty clear. The next statement is resentment is the number one offender. Resentment is a manifestation of self in one's life. Why are you calling them yours? Wouldn't they be much clearer called manifestations of self? Why do they turn into ours? Yeah. Isn't that the bondage of self? The bondage of self would be taking self's manifestations as my manifestations. Yes? I mean, what better description of the basis of the bondage of self? I'm mistaking foreignness as my nature. Yeah. Just talks about it like with the fear. Fear is a thread that runs through the fabric of our existence. Now, if fear was the same color of all the other fabrics, it'd be difficult to recognize fear from the fabric of our existence. But when you realize fear is not yours, it makes that thread yellow in that brown sweater. So you can see the foreignness, and you can outgrow. You're not going to outgrow the sweater, but you can outgrow that thread. Yes? Because that thread is not of the sweater. It weaved itself into the fabric of our existence, but it's not of our existence. It's self's existence in us. This is how I see it. And I've seen it this way, and I've never not seen it for a long, long time. And I'm open. I mean, I don't care how it works. I want it to work. That's the point. Yeah. And I saw the principles of AA are super sound, but because we're in it, we can fuck it up because we're the carrier of the problem. And also, really, the solution. Yeah. So, how are you going to get rid of shit that you think is your shit? It's going to be difficult. Yes. Every time you get it, you have it leave, you call it back by calling it yours. And don't we sit around sharing our resentments with other people? And it creates a bond, a community that's rooted in the problem instead of the solution. Every time you share glory, it has to be bookended, but I'm still fucked up. Yes, that's why. Why is there a pledge of allegiance to the problem while we're singing the glory of the solution? Yeah. And this is the one that gets me the most. If you don't mind me taking this time, if there's a question, we could stop. But was it difficult for you to recognize that something is and had been doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself when you got struck sober or you became sober, where you were watching yourself every day with this urge, and then the urge was removed and you didn't even remember the day it was removed because it's removed? Yes. and we have now gratitude, and we're giving great glory to the program and the principles and the spirit and the higher power. Yet none of that works with the lower power. The lower power drove us to do shit we would never have come up with by ourselves, yet we identify as the doer of all that shit that we were driven to do while under the influence. Don't you think that's curious? That now it's so easy to you to give great glory to that which is doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself. Well, a lot of shit was done through you that you wouldn't have done by yourself by the lower power. Where's the fucking accountability to that? You and I are holding the bag of shit we didn't do for 40 years ago. That's insane. It's like carrying a carcass, something dead, and breathing life into it every day. Yeah. Have you ever experienced when you thought you ruined someone's life and then you finally get the balls to make the amends and you go there and they don't even remember fucking what you're talking about? They don't even, what the hell are you talking about? And you held on to this thing for 25 years. What the hell are you talking about? This is this is you were we have an umbilical cord of shit that we were never born as. Yeah. This should have been cut at the 4th step and the 9th step. You don't shut the door on the past, but you don't go in regretting it all day. What happens? The head has you as the doer of something 40 years ago, and you return to it over and over again. Yeah? To get re-sentenced. And there's no term limit. There's no statute of limitation. It can bring up something from 50 years ago, and you're still under probation. You're going to tell me you did the shit when you were out there doing the shit? Because what you did looks very similar to what a lot of other people did. I think we were driven by the same thing, and it's not of us. It's a foreign installment. Yes? It's like a weird GPS that was put into our mental condition. Like Hal in 2001 took over the mission. Yeah. So I'm stubborn about it because I meet a lot of people in AA, and when are you going to put that load down? Yeah. When? I mean, we like to use a term called traveling lighter. Uh, bound to the past by believing you were the doer of shit that you were driven to do is like walking around with like a lot of fucking bags with lead in it. Yeah. We're just dragging it into each moment. We're dragging memories of our past relationships into this moment. We're dragging the the guilt and shame we felt when we were loaded and still feel now after 40 years of sobriety. Well, I, for one, I'm not into it, man. Just not into it at all. So, hey, this is the invitation. Check it out. If it works for you, great. That's the point. Yeah. Yeah. Do you understand self can't get out of self? Do you realize that's an observational statement from a lot of people that try to do exactly what we've been trying to do in recovery? They've been trying to get out of self as self. Yeah. They didn't recognize the bondage of self is the identification as self. And if you want a simple reminder, you're calling a manifestation of self yours most of the time. I mean, that would indicate to me the bondage of self is in place. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to severely limit the possibilities that AA can offer. All right, well, and the good news is there is a solution. Yeah. And the problem is foreign to us. An incredible great bit of news. Yeah. You don't have to get rid of you. Just get rid of these things that are blocking you and they're foreign to you. Yeah. 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 All right. Well, Mickey, anyone?
Yes, I don't see any hands yet, Paul. Anybody Gary. Here we go, Paul.
Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hey, Paul. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Um, as you're talking, I'm holding a question of, kind of like a sponsor's eye view. It's like, how do you get this across to somebody? And as I'm watching, the answer that comes through is, well, you just keep pounding on it. You get this idea. There's a self that's not you, and I also hear the other side, that's saying, well, who's he talking about? I'm here, but he's talking about somebody else. It's confusing to this self image. And so I'm just watching as you pound on it to sort of show what can't be seen that's hiding in plain view. And I don't really have a question. I'm just looking for ways to be of service with people who don't get it, or seemingly it's passing them by. And I can kind of see the problem is, well, you're acting as if it is you, and that's all there is. And then I'm watching how you do it. You just you go around the circle again. This is how it came up for you. This is how you found it. This is what has turned out to be a real solution for you, and that is helpful. And I'm working with people who seemingly don't get it, don't see it, and I don't know if you have anything to say to that. I see what you're doing. You keep presenting the message. You just are available for anyone who wants to hear it. And
well, this is what we came to, Gary. Someone set up these platforms, and we put the tent up, and that's it. Yep. So this is how I do it. But I don't. I lead people if I start with them just to do the basic AA thing and let them at least get to the fourth step and the fourth column, and at least get to see their role in things. And I have great faith that something other than us, this power, is going to reveal to them what they need to have revealed. And that's not up to me, but I'm just putting out an invitation. And this isn't like a targeted audience. We're not sending flyers out to specific addresses.
yeah,
We're just opened here, and we just put it out, and I'm committed to putting it out. And as you know, AA, you learn quickly to stay out of the outcome business. So I don't have a graph where I think I'm winning or we're convincing people or not. It doesn't matter to me.
yeah.
This is the seed assignment I find myself in, and I do it the best I can. And I have a lot of faith and gratitude in it. And one thing I've always appreciated is even if I don't like it or not, it's nice to hear things. Yes. Because a lot of times what was hearing things in my life was very myopic, and I wasn't hearing much. So just to have the possibility of made available is more than enough, I find. Yeah. And so, but I'm not, if I'm working with someone new, it's hard enough to get them to see their role in things
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
and then let's see what happens. Start there. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
working up. This is not a, a pill you take before the program. This
Mhm.
is after you're doing the program. It's another way of seeing what you've already looked at, which is the fourth step, and maybe seeing that there is something called self that was really the doer of a lot of the shit that you did. Yeah. And
Yeah.
in recognition, I find that's a very powerful uh, point of relief, very powerful. And sometimes quickly or slowly. And it doesn't matter on one level, but yeah, so I'm not like, this is a new way and you have to, you know, uh, pledge that you're, no, I just do exactly what we do in AA, but I emphasize or try to point out the exact nature of the wrong because it's very important. It's just that simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's a clear recognition of that that's presented in the community I was in, which is San Francisco. And so we just filled a vacuum and here we are. Yeah. It hasn't
Yeah.
made me a great amount of friends.
No.
My
No.
circuit speaker career came to a crashing halt and everything else. And I was surprised a lot by reactions. Yeah. I'm surprised about in myself and in others. Yeah, I have. It's been very, uh, it's been very, uh, uh, yeah, there was very, I saw a lot that I had no idea was going on. But yeah, but I would just hopefully bring people. I think one of the first big waves is see your role in things.
Mhm.
Yeah. And a clarity about the fourth step, uh, I think is very important. And then when you see your role in things, inevitably, if you have this understanding or you've heard it, you'll see self's role in things. Yeah.
Mhm.
Really, it's up to the patient is the one that gets the solution, so to speak. Yeah. 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 So yeah, I just work with people when I do. I haven't worked with new people in a while, but I just do what we all do. But I emphasize certain things more, let's say, than I used to.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to win anyone over. I just want them to have relief, whatever that is, a modicum of relief or a lot of relief. I want people to be able to walk around traveling a little lighter than they were. Yeah, fuck. If you have something that makes mountains out of molehills, which we do, and can present lies as facts, which we
Mhm.
do, and has a tendency to play God, which it does, uh, I think it's very, very important to recognize the foreign nature of it, because that opens me up to be able to be free from it instead of being free as it, which is captured by the statement of self can't get out of self. And I believe a lot of us are still trying to be free as self. And but whatever, yeah. I'm not like a policeman that, walks around and puts a badge on them. Yeah, just this is the way things go.
Yeah.
Bygones, bygones. Yeah.
I guess we're kind of like an artesian well where the water of the message just keeps coming up and horses come by and they either drink or they don't.
Exactly. And then the news gets spread though. A lot of places are using this. Therapeutic centers, psychiatrists and shit like that. So it's working on a lot of levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to become a, a more available understanding than it was before. What more can you do, really? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I hope the people that need it or want it will find it. And then they will unlock those doors that were never locked to begin with. Yep. So
Yeah.
that's all. But I just, the thing is to be of help, whatever that moment demands. Somebody doesn't want to hear philosophy. They need a sandwich, so that's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you showing up and having the water flow every day or so.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's in my nature now. I mean, this happened when I was 3 years sober. That's like 33 years ago. And it's something, you know, just, and it was really weird with the pandemic and the Zoom world starting. It was so funny that I found the perfect platform because I've obviously where I live, I've been nuded quite a lot. My community. Yes. I'm non-self Paul, radical cleric Paul, Buddha Paul. So
But
they don't
those of us out here don't know that.
ex
You're the
exactly.
Paul.
This is the fertile ground is the Zoom world because I've been
Yeah.
nuded in a way. It's a shame, but this is what happens. The head gives name and form to stuff and then thinks it knows it and then doesn't investigate. Yeah, so I've
Yeah,
been
dude.
here for so long. I'm yeah, I'm just like a fucking an oddity, so to speak. Whatever.
Well, thank God for you because I just don't think if I hadn't heard this message, I'd have been stuck at a certain gate that I couldn't have got through.
Yes.
There's no way through it without seeing it for what it is. And I just, I honor and appreciate that message and its time in my life. So,
We're like a little like band that plays at the bar on Saturday. We're not an arena playing band.
yeah.
People just stumble into this somehow to this platform and then they were ready to hear something and then they hear something. Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. I love it, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Literally. And this yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's relief from the bondage of self. Hmm. Hmm. Isn't that what we pray for in the third step? Please
Yeah.
relieve us of the bondage of self. Well, there we have it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of a message in that. Why would you pray for the relief of a bondage of self if self wasn't the the bonder, the
Yes.
problem? So
Exactly.
there's a lot of meaning in that for us. Like at first it's confusing. What do you mean? I should be relieved from myself? No, there's something else.
That's right.
Listen again.
See, but the thing is, really, most of what you call you is manufactured. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have been there's been a taking of self to such a point. Self is like the drug. So the mental drug is self, and we're talking as the drug. Yeah. Now, this is insane because I did a lot of cocaine, but I never at any moment thought I was cocaine, ever. Never. Yet, in this case, we are living as the drug of the mental state, which is self, this idea of being the doer, the thinker, the feeler, this cherishing of our uniqueness when we're not that unique. This obsession with self is the addiction, literally.
Yeah.
And we tried to get relief from it, and they became categories of other addictions, like doing drugs and alcohol. But basically, they were basically misguided attempts to get out of self, literally. We've been trying to get out of this fucker for quite a while, but we've been trying to get out of it as it. See, this is the news here. You're not that which is trying to get out of it. Yeah. It's difficult. So do you want to if you want to make something easy and lose its trueness, go ahead. I think a lot of people have done that with a lot of truth in life. They try to make it palpable and it gets diluted. this is truth. This is true, and it may not be easy, obviously.
Mm.
Yeah, because what's going to resist this message is the idea of self. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
going to live as you resisting it, and you're going to be calling it your resistance. Yeah, so it will be showing itself all the time. It's doing what it does, and if you have an understanding and you start seeing it, it really limits its effects. Yeah, it really does, and it doesn't matter if it's absolute or not. A little bit of relief goes a long way because it leads to more relief. Because more is going to be revealed about what has defeated us, and more you're going to see it's not of you, which gives you a very strong feeling I can be fucking free from it. And so it
Mhm.
will. It will be. And this is the solution, truly. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for many of us. But fuck, it was difficult standing outside 7-Eleven at 5:59, and I need to get 5 more cents to buy that fucking half pint of vodka. That's fucking difficult. Yeah. So this is difficult, but we have a power on our side. Yeah. And it's constantly revealing stuff to us. So open up to the revelations and tell the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw most of my life was self trying to get out of sight. Self. I saw it. It gave me a quick review. And it was stunning, literally. And basically, I was just paralyzed, but it was a good paralyzing. I was disarmed. And I realized truly self can't get out of self.
Mm.
And so I had to approach this in a different way. It just wasn't fucking working. And maybe there was going to be no approach, and I would be led by the power step by step, and that's how it went. Yeah. And then I saw, the defeat of many of us are so similar. Yeah. That obviously it becomes very clear that there's been one driver of this fleet of cars. Yeah. And how the driver has driven the fleet of cars, it has told the car that it's the driver. But it isn't. The car has been driven. And now we are a car being driven by the higher power, just like we were a car being driven by the lower power. Literally.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
our joy in this life is really going to be dictated by what's driving us, literally. It's either spirit or finite self. That's the two-ness that AA came to, which is perhaps there's a better way, and there's only two ways: either trusting finite self or trusting the infinite. Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, it's not. That's a very clear demarcation. Yeah, and so if you learn what trusting finite self is, it strengthens the trust in the infinite. Really.
Yeah. 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 You can see clearly the difference or the enemy.
Because you may be trying to trust the infinite as finite self, which is more trust than finite self.
That's a good one.
No, it's true. You're going to see it.
Yeah.
You're going to see it. And then that's revelatory, and a lot of other shit's revelatory.
Mm.
Because the act of being identified, obviously, the one who seems to be identified is the last one to know. Yeah. Yeah. But when you see it, and it lands, it's never changed in me. I mean, a lot of things have come and gone, and I've had a lot of ideas about a lot of things, but this idea took root, and it's never changed in my life of recovery. Maybe it hit me around 7 years, so that's 30 years ago about. So yeah, and it hasn't changed today.
It's a good sign.
I'm not sitting here as self trying to get out of self. I am really just enjoying peace of mind at the moment. Yeah, so yeah, bro. Just come.
Cool.
We're here Thursday. That's all I can say until I pass away or something. And then someone else, probably nicer than I am, will come and hopefully run with the ball. Run with the ball. I am not the ball. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I'm just running with the ball, and someone
Yeah.
else will pick it up, and you may like them better, and maybe he may be able to hear it from them. Yeah, yeah. Uh, so, all right. Anyone else? Thank you, Gary. And you've been with
Thank
us
you.
since the beginning in the Zoom. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you've gone through almost a deadly condition. You're alive. You keep backing. You've been sober the whole time. Yeah, more has been revealed, and it brought about a lightness of traveling. Fucking great. What more do you want? Yeah,
Pretty good.
not bad. Yes.
Yeah. Not bad.
Michael Stacy has been here forever. We got Lebowski. We got a lot of people. And some people seem like they've always been here, like Kathy from Cleveland and everyone, and Mickey, and we got John from Florida. I mean, these people are not 2 levels below a coconut. Something's working. Yeah, they're getting relief, and they're getting a solid explanation of the exact nature of the fucking wrong. And it says exact nature. You can't miss it out. It's either you or not you, literally. Yeah. And I find more freedom by seeing it as foreign to me than as a part of me that has to be readjusted or shit. It didn't work because it thinks it's all of you. You may think it's a part of you, it thinks it's all of you. Yeah. So, yes, you can be trusting the finite when you're trusting your ideas of the infinite. Yes. That's called trust in the finite self concerning the infinite. Yeah. Yes. You'll see that. It becomes obvious. You'll recognize it. Yeah. And then what happens? Then you lose interest in that thing that you've been trusting. And that loss of interest migrates to the infinite, and you start traveling lighter through a life that you couldn't travel lighter through. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you recognize you are definitely not the source, not from self as the cause of that, but you're the effect of it. Something is causing a loss of interest in self, and you become the benefactory of that. You travel lighter. Yeah. So you don't take self so seriously. Rule 62. You
Good
don't.
one.
You don't, and it turns mostly into a comedy show. It's great. It's terrible as a news broadcast. It's fucking terrible. But as comedy, it's incredible. It's very funny. It is. you you misplaced something. Someone stole it. Like in a second. You know what I mean? Who wants that fucking beat up truck? Someone stole my truck. No, they didn't. You just you forgot where you parked it. You know what I mean? Now, when I lose my wallet, I don't call the bank right away and have to change the things. I just give it a little time because I didn't lose the wallet. My head just misplaced it. It was right where I had put it, and I finally find it again. So I gotta call off the bank and everything. Someone's gonna buy a fucking world shipping cruise thing. No, I send a text to Amelia. What was never lost was found. Once again, the wallet. Oh, it's hilarious in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, great.
We
Well,
we have a couple more hands,
Thanks,
all right.
Paul.
Paul.
Well, let's go. Hon. Yeah. Sorry.
Ross has been patiently waiting.
Hi, thanks, Mickey, and hi, Paul. Good to see you in not a YouTube video, in the live show, so to speak, and everyone else as well. It was something that came to me to just get your how you see it, Paul. So with this message, I experience a lot of traveling later, and it's a wonderful thing. And what it seems to be is that over time, sometimes you kind of get wrapped up in self again for whatever reason. And something you mentioned when you were replying to Gary, since I've really seen this message, I've never not trusted that I'm going to come out of it. But I was just wondering, sort of, what do you think? What is your take on that? Like when that happens, is that the higher power revealing maybe unrecognized my's of things in you? Is it like part of a process, just to eventually be permanently, like just never playing with the mind, this thing we call self? Just kind of wonder what your take is on it, because obviously I've experience of it, and I always come out the other end, and I seem to be more aware of self after it. But I was just interested to see what your take on it
Yeah,
was.
it can be given a lot of meaning, just like you expressed. In my case, at times, there's some deep mental grooves that occupy a lot of space in us. And those things, you would rather, avoid them a day at a time. But there are blockages, and so life brings them up. Yeah, so what I thought when I was avoiding all that shit, I was being successful. It truly wasn't. So life would bring stuff up I'd rather not see. Yeah. So I would start after a while, I saw the opportunity of that, and that became the fodder or the material for step 6 and 7. Yeah. And so 6 and 7 at a certain point of time for years was the most active step I would be engaged with, because a lot of what I wasn't was getting revealed. And when I could see it right coming in the oven, I would bring it to step 6 and 7. And I feel 6 and 7 is the recycling uh, action of the higher power, taking an old idea or some kind of thing that has been formed in a mutated way and reconfiguring it. Yeah. So that's one level. The second level is some of those things that you thought was was blocking your direction like a giant iceberg. You see that you go around it easily by loss of interest. So loss of interest starts happening, and it's amazing how things look uh, when there's a loss of interest. So let's say there was a lot of interest without me knowing it, that this iceberg had the ability to block me. So of course, then I'd have to get rid of this iceberg. And there would be a lot of interest in trying to get rid of that, and it seemed not to budge. Yeah. And I went through a period of time of that. And usually the failing of getting rid of the iceberg, which would look like a failing, was really the success, because I learned I don't need the iceberg to be rid of. Yes.
Mhm.
I can
Yeah.
navigate around it. I can cohabitate with it. Yes. I don't need an empty mind to be at peace. Yeah. All I need is to see thoughts as thoughts and not as my thoughts. Yeah. Yes. So these things had different functions as you're dreaming yourself out of the events that we're in. And that one function became the most valuable, is the loss of interest, because my head has given a lot of meaning to shit as if this could ruin my whole life, when it doesn't have that ability really. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of stuff didn't have to leave to me to be at peace with it. Yeah. Which blew my mind. I never thought that's not how the head thought. So loss of interest has been an incredible, uh, that is really a new way of looking at things. Is a loss of interest happens, and then you see the thing that you were giving a lot of meaning to in a different light. It's really cool. And that's been happening for years, a lot of years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
a lot of the things that I try to avoid because they demanded a battle and whatever between light and dark, it was all dramatic. It wasn't true. Yeah. I can be
yeah.
okay and be fucked basically at the same time. I can. Yeah. I am fucked momentarily, but I'm okay. I know it's like I have a shirt. It says, I know it's terminal, but it's not serious. So it goes against the head, the meaning that it's incredibly important. To undermine it by it's not that important really kills it. Yeah, it kills its buzz, so to speak. Yeah, so that was an this of it being used to point itself out so it can be removed. That was an obvious one, but the loss of interest showed me a thing rooted back in a book called The Course in Miracles, that you and I are giving everything all the meaning it has. Yeah. When you lose interest in something, that's the change of meaning in something. Interest is sort of a meaning in itself. Yeah. It's weird. I can't explain it, but if you have a lot of interest, it like galvanizes a meaning. When you lose interest, it doesn't change the meaning, but it takes a lot of oomph out of it. Yeah. It's really cool, really cool. So I feel this is the head has auctioned our life to things a lot. And now I think a lot of our life is being back and rooted in no thing or spirit. Seriously. Yes, I do. And the presence of spirit is best met with undirected interest and attention. So if my head isn't using all the interest and attention to emphasize its story, a story of presence gets emphasized, which is nice. Yeah. Yeah. So I may not be able to enjoy it when it's not happening, but it's happening now. So I enjoy it. Yeah. So my emphasis is, oh, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it when it's not happening. So I'm not a perfect person. No, I'm totally enjoying it when it's available, which is right now. Yeah. Right now I'm chilled out. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Now, I bet you'd flip out if you were in the water and a shark came. I would, but I'm not in the water right now, probably. Yeah. So I'm just going to enjoy the chilled outness. But don't you have to be incredibly, constantly, always able to be chilled out? Who cares? Yeah. Right now, that doesn't matter. Right now, I can respond to the ease and comfort that's available right now. So I do. Yeah. Yeah. Not one bird sound is scaring me. Not one bird. We have a beautiful mockingbird. It's not the one singing now. They're not scaring me. They're not triggering an anxiety, nor the sound of the water in the Buddha pond, nor the dog and the cat around here. The cat's sleeping. Yeah. The only thing that could provoke an dis-ease is the head. Yeah. And you'd have to have faith in the head to override the ease and comfort that's available in my backyard right now. And I don't have that. That faith is not in the head anymore. So the faith is in the ease and comfort available in my backyard. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but you are going to get established in a condition. Yeah. Of freedom from the bondage of self. It's available. We say it on page 84, the problem will not exist for you anymore. That's fucking incredible. Yeah. Will you have problems? Yes. Will they come? Yes. Will they go? Yes. Yeah. Have you came with the problem and do you go with the problem? No. You were there before the problem, you're there during the problem, and you're there after the problem. And then when you finally pass away, there won't be any problems to be before, during, or after anyway. Yeah. Yes. Do you start at the problem? No. Do you stop at the problem? No. You're here constantly in your life. You've never not been here in your life. Yeah. Yeah. That's the basis of all things, is here and now. it's nice to start there instead of there and then. There and then is the field day is where the head loves to reside. But here and now is where the spirit is, yes? Yeah. So you get anchored in the here and now. It's far out. I mean, it's the best port you could ever arrive at because you never left. It's always been this way. I don't care what the head has said. Yeah, the head is just unbelievable. You're never going to get it. It's like, you're at a dinner and they haven't served it on time, and your head says you're never going to get it. Then they show up with the fillet. It's just it's insane. You know what I mean? No bus comes here, then the bus pulls up. You're constantly being proved wrong. Your head. All right. Well, thank you. We got to get to another question, Ross. Nice to see you again. Hey, do me one favor. Say the word miracle.
Miracle.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go, Paul. You got your miracle fix.
I like my Scottish miracle. I really do. It's awesome. All right, we have Ben. Come on in, Ben. Sorry if we're staying late, but whatever. Yes.
Hi, Paul. That I've been taken over is super clear many times. Is there any level where where I'm responsible for having been taken over?
No. No. That's my answer.
So it's really in a way that it seems like we've been taken over, or there's a taking overness, but there's nobody really.
Yes, it seems like it, and it runs a story, and the story sounds good, but it's very, very flimsy. Yes. So no, I would start with you had nothing to do with it. When you heard a voice in your head, did you believe that it was, how could you believe it was anything other than you? Yeah. You're innocent as hell. You start hearing something speaking in your noggin. Yeah. It tells you it's you, and it's out there to guide you and guard for you and shit. Who was there to be suspicious? The suspicious moment is now. Yeah. After we've seen enough. There was a point where you were running into rooms doing shit like that, and then there was a point you ran into a room and it was accompanied by thought, and then everything the rest of your life has been basically accompanied by thought. Yeah. So anything that happens, it's thought about. Things that didn't happen but should have happened are thought about. Things that did happen that shouldn't have happened are thought about. There's a lot of thinking going on, and there was a point there was no thinking. When you were running around like a little kid, there was no thoughts. I wasn't thinking I'm playing when I was playing. I didn't ask my mother to review my playing and see if I was doing good or not in it. No. Something developed, which was the head, and it gave us a whole world. And that world is rooted in self. And we see everything as how it pertained to self. We were not seeing everything as how it pertained to self to a point. We weren't. Yeah. And then it slowly took over, and it's a jealous motherfucker. So it doesn't brook much other possibilities. And it feels super uncomfortable for us. And so we try to get some relief. And those reliefs lead us to a bigger form, another form of addiction. It's sort of like Dracula going out on vampire hunts so that no one ever thinks it's the vampire. So the addiction of the head finds addictions to get over in life or not get over in life, all the while sticking with the addiction of self. Yeah. So, no, I don't think there's any responsibility in it at all. And if I did it, I would still say the same thing. There's no responsibility. Yeah. The subtleties are about things should be found out later. You need an extreme clarity. It's not you. You do. Yeah. And then maybe you'll come up with other conclusions, but we need a healthy separation. So the best way to me is to see it as a foreign installment or a parasitical movement. Yeah. We need to picture it as other than us. And that opens up a lot of possibilities that aren't open to us when we're seeing life as that. So, yeah. Now, the subtleties you'll find out, or they may not be needed. But at this point, I don't want to, there's not a little responsibility or a lot of responsibility. Let's just say no responsibility. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you were at a court of cars, and then you were the car that was driven to all these bank robberies, then in that court of cars, you would maybe get convicted because that's how they see everything. They see everything as a car. Yeah. But when we're seeing us as the driven, that car, the driver is going to go to the jail or go to court, not the car, is it? They're not going to bring the Toyota you drove to the bank on with. Yeah, because this is a court, this is a world of things, of people. So here we are as people, but as people, but we're showing the tendencies of something that's driven. Yet we're believing we're the driver. Yes? But if you look at your life and compare it to other addicts and alcoholics, it looks like you took the same fucking course and you parked at the same 3 parking spaces. Let's realize something. The story of being the driver is part of the computer chip of the car. Yeah. The car thinks it's the one that is the driver, but it's not. You're being driven. If you're a big book enthusiast, that's how it describes us. You're driven by 100 forms of this parasitical nature. Yes. Driven means you're not the driver. Isn't that obviously in English? Yeah. Even when they're trying to sell a self-driving car, it says it's a self-driving car under supervision. So it's not a self-driving car. Yeah. So in this case, we are a self-driving car. The car called Kurt and the car called Paul was driven by the same driver, self. So we're in the club of a self-driving car. So, yeah. All right, Ben, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Mike's here, and Rico had his hand up. I don't know if Rico had a comment to make, Paul.
No, let's hear from Big Mike.
All right, Mike, let's hear what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we're making amends, we're not going to say to somebody like, hey, I'm sorry, it wasn't really me. It was this parasite thingy.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, I'm saying like, we make amends knowing we were driven to do these things by this. And I do believe that, by the way. I don't believe I did these things under the lash of alcoholism. I had no power, choice, or control. But in making that amends, it's like, that there are heartfelt, real amends about the nature of, what the harm was done. If you just elaborate on that for a minute,
Well,
because
unless you were in a non-dual community, then you could say, no, you. Yes.
right.
But of course,
Blame it on the street. Right.
You're in Rome, you do as the Romans do.
Exactly.
Yes, so that's the point. I don't, yeah. What you are speaks louder than what you'll ever say anyway. So,
True.
to me, when you're living in a community that has formulated dances, when you dance in that formulated way, so to speak. Yes?
Nice. Yeah.
Be improvising inside and throwing some subtleties in there, but you're going with the crowd, of course.
Mm,
Because our major thing is to get relief from the bondage of self. Yeah. So let's start with where we're at. And so most people are up the ass of self. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So we got to get a message through up the ass of self and so this is why service and everything is so important, because it gives you a live sense of being out of the ass of self by doing something for another person or being engaged with a larger group than just you. So these things they're gonna incite some curiosity, and you're gonna be led to a lot of solutions, yeah, by the design of living that we have in recovery. So just stick to the design for living. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But you said it perfectly. Yeah. I'm not going there and say there is no Paul, but what's saying that would only be Paul. Yeah. If there is no Paul, there's nothing needs to declare there is no Paul. Yeah. Yeah. I love it when people tell me they've disappeared, but it's only their appearance that can tell me they disappeared. So, uh, disappearing is really loss of interest. Yeah. It's as if you've disappeared, but you're still appearing, but it is as if you've disappeared. That's loss of interest. Yep. Yeah. Which our whole program pivots on. Remember, you lose interest in self, and then all this other shit starts to happen. All right. Anyone else, Mike? Anyone? Thank you, Mike.
That's it, Paul.
Well, what a lovely morning. Thank you. Yes.
Been fun, huh?
Yeah. It's always a surprise. Always enjoy it. Hey, yeah, remember, we're all part of this loving presence expressing itself in our group conscience. Yeah. And I want to ask Ross to take us out by saying, it's a miracle.
Yeah, no problem. It's a miracle.
There you go. Thank you. So John, Florida, nice to see you, bro. Have a great day. Mickey, as always, she is the eternal greeter. Peter in New York. Oh, phone number. Nice to see you. I think with a Phillies hat. I don't know. I can't see. Rico Cruz. Ross. Sarah, nice to see you again, Ross. Thanks for dropping in. Saraswati, hope all is well wherever you are, hon. Kurt Z. Tomas, our friend in Poland. Gary in Placerville. Roman Mueller. Tom L. Nice to see you, Tom. Joseph C. Rick Rowe. Jessica in Edmonton. Ben. James Lebowski. He's been with us since day one. John K. There he is. He's gone through many names, but it's still John. Eileen in New York. Nice to see Eileen. We got Rick Rowe in Toronto. We got Oliver in Berlin. Jason, Rob S., Jules on vocal, another phone number. I think I got everyone. Hey, thanks so much. Pleasure. Mike M., nice to see him. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. And we'll be here today, actually, at 4:30 Pacific time for a non-duality meeting. And then everything's on the events page of the Zen Bitch Slap. Same Zoom room, no password. See you soon, I hope. Bye.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.